everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel where we do painting tutorials. As you can see, I have quite a large canvas. It is 40 by 40 centimeters, and I start by coloring the top with some ultramarine blue very lightly, and then I fill in the rest with some cadmium yellow and some hints of dark chrome yellow. Now I have not primed nor gessoed this canvas, I just took it out of the plastic wrap and that is it. I have not prepped it in any way, sort, shape or form, and as far as I know this is just a plain canvas I got from the dollar store. It is not specifically meant for watercolors or anything of the sort, so I just want to get it out there. This is your basic canvas, there's nothing special to it. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're using watercolor pencils on canvas is the surface is usually much more textured than your watercolor paper, and you end up depositing more pigment than you do on paper. So when it's dry, it's going to look much more pale than once you get it wet. So in case you oversaturate it or you put too much color, you can just wipe it off. Canvas is a very forgiving surface. Now to activate this, I just go from the yellow upwards. I thoroughly clean my brush, activate the blue, and let the two colors flow into each other. Yes, I'm wiping my canvas of the excess color with a paper towel. Since the pigments and the water itself does not sink into the fibers of the canvas, I can do that. Once it has fully dried, I take some walnut brown and some black and I sketch a very rough mountain edge. I go over it with my brush and blend it downwards with just some water. It's very important to wait in between layers for them to fully dry. That is pretty much crucial to this technique and to layering in general. Once it has dried, again I take my brown and my black and I sketch another mountain edge. I activate just the top and then bring it down with some water without coloring the bottom of the mountain. I just color the edge. I do that because once I blend it down with water, I get a very soft gradient, meaning the top of the mountain ends up being darker than the bottom, and then I'm just gonna keep on making more mountains on the bottom of the previous mountains, since the previous ones are always going to be lighter than the new one because I dilute it. So by doing this, you can add as many or as few as you like. And you can use any colors you want. You don't need to use brown and black. You can do reds, you can use greens, blues, whatever you want. Now for my third layer, I am going to add some very faint trees in the distance because closer to us, the more detail you are going to start to see. For the fifth mountain, I'm actually going to do some more trees and a tiny house on top of a hill. Very straightforward box shape with an upside down letter V for a roof. Then a couple of trees. I first go with my brown and then very lightly with my black because I do not want the black to oversaturate the brown. I want this to be a very soft painting, mostly in sepia tones. Then again, I first do the top of the mountain and bring it down with water. If drawing is not your thing, there is going to be a traceable available over at my Patreon page, Sunshine Arts, where we also do full-time painting tutorials, including of this painting. So if that is something that interests you and you'd like to further support me and the channel, links are going to be down in the description along with all of the art supplies. And that is why I do some strange hand gestures in this video. I'm just explaining what I'm doing step by step, so yeah, sorry for all of the hand movement. Now for my third to last layer, I'm actually gonna get a small detail brush to activate my trees first, because again I want more detail as I'm coming closer to us, and that is just easier to achieve with a small detail brush. Then I go over the mountain edge and the paint from the trees is going to bleed and blend on its own with the mountains, so you don't need to do anything special for it. For the last and second to last layer, I want some big trees on either side framing this picture, and since I will need to use a good amount of pressure, I slide inside my canvas my pencil case or sketchbook or even a chopping board, I don't know, it just gives you much better support. And if you don't know how to control your pressure, or if you tend to write with more pressure, this is going to protect your canvas from you accidentally stabbing it, then making a hole through it. Again, I start from the trees first and then finish off with the mountain. Once it has dried, for the very final one, I'm going to color the mountain entirely. I'm not going to leave a prior bottom. I'm going to color everything with brown and black. Go with the skinnier brush and then blend everything else downwards. Now I wanted to add some bonus tips here in case you end up making a mistake, in case you want to fix something up. Like I said earlier on, canvas is a very forgiving surface because the pigments, unless they're staining, they don't usually sink into the fibers of the canvas itself, like with some watercolor papers. So, for example, I made a seagull on the chubbier side. I just went with a bit of water and picked up the paint with my napkin, and voila, I erased it. Then I messed up the sun on the top left corner, went with a wet brush, picked it up with the napkin, erased it. Now on the bottom right corner, it dried a bit more pale, so I'm gonna add some more brown and add more water to that layer so I don't get a new harsh edge, and it's going to dry soft, as you can see here in the final picture. I'd like to give a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters for the month of March. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and we'll see each other in the next one. Bye bye.